Picture this: you're 23 years old, at the peak of promise, with your whole life ahead of you. You've finally convinced your parents to take a family vacation to paradise. The Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas, crystal blue waters, white sand beaches, luxury beyond imagination. It should have been perfect, but instead it became a family's worst nightmare. By the way, I'm curious, where are you tuning in from? Drop a quick comment. I read them all, and sometimes your ideas spark our next case. Dinari McClemmont wasn't just another tourist. This 23-year-old from Bowie, Maryland, was a rising star in the music industry. He worked as an audio engineer and producer at Location Studios. Colleagues knew him by his stage name, Diddy. His boss Oliver Franklin would later describe him as someone he talked to every day, a young man passionate about bringing artists' visions to life. Dinari took immense pride in his appearance, especially his hair. He spent considerable money on hair products and styling. His family knew this attention to detail as part of who he was: meticulous and caring. On Friday, April 4, 2025, the McClemmont family boarded their flight to Nassau. Parents Michelle and her husband were excited to spend quality time with their son at the renowned Atlantis Paradise Island Resort. The weekend getaway was supposed to be a brief escape from their busy lives in Maryland. They checked into their rooms that evening and settled in. The family headed to dinner together at one of the resort's world-class restaurants with ocean views. At approximately 8:45 p.m., Dinari excused himself from dinner. He told his parents he wanted to grab a coat from his room and explore the resort. This wasn't unusual. Dinari was naturally curious about what the famous Atlantis had to offer. He texted his mother that he was going for a walk around the property. Around 10 p.m., Dinari sent another text to his mother, mentioning he was heading to one of the resort's restaurants. This would be the last direct communication his family would receive from him. By 12:30 a.m., Michelle McAlmont felt something was terribly wrong. Her son didn't respond to her text asking about his whereabouts. She checked the family's location-sharing service on their phones. The digital trail had gone cold. What happened next would set the stage for a mystery that continues to haunt the family. Around 1 a.m. on Saturday, April 5, resort staff appeared at the McClelmont's door. They weren't there with an update. They were there with heartbreak. The staff members informed Dinari's parents that their son had allegedly been involved in an incident at one of the resort's restaurants. According to the report, Dinari had supposedly spat on restaurant workers, a claim that made no sense to anyone who knew him. The allegations suggested there had been some kind of altercation. Michelle McAlmont would later tell investigators this behavior seemed completely out of character for her son. Something about the entire situation felt wrong. The family immediately began searching the resort grounds. They scoured restaurants, lounges, pools, and common areas. Other guests and staff members were asked if they had seen the young man. The sprawling Atlantis resort suddenly felt like a maze with no answers. When their search proved fruitless, the McAlmonts filed a missing person report with local authorities. Time was becoming their enemy. Every hour that passed without word from Dinari increased their desperation. Resort staff made multiple visits to the family's room throughout the early morning hours. The pattern of these visits would later become significant to the family's understanding of events. But at the time, they were simply desperate parents hoping for any news about their son. Then came the news that would shatter their world forever. At approximately 5:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, resort staff returned to the McAlmonts' room one final time. Just over 12 hours after the family had arrived in paradise. This visit was different. They came to deliver devastating news. Dinari McAlmont's body had been found on the shoreline of Paradise Island. He was discovered unresponsive with no vital signs. The young man who had left dinner the previous evening to explore the resort was gone. But what Michelle McAlmont saw next would contradict everything officials would later claim. When authorities showed her a photograph of her son's body for identification purposes, the image was shocking. This was not the carefully groomed young man she had kissed goodbye less than 24 hours earlier. "My son was beaten," she told Eyewitness News Bahamas through tears. He was traumatized. His condition clearly showed signs of physical trauma. His hair that he normally takes so much pride in, he spent a lot of money on products full of sand. The description painted a disturbing picture. Dinari's usually pristine appearance had been replaced by what his mother described as clear signs of a violent struggle. The sand in his hair suggested a fight on the beach itself. "That tells me they beat my son down in the sand," Michelle continued. "I need justice for my baby." The Royal Bahamas Police Force immediately launched an investigation. Commissioner Shanta Knowles announced that authorities would await autopsy results before providing further details to the public. The cause of death was not immediately apparent. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. When the official autopsy results were released, the announcement felt like a slap in the face. The Royal Bahamas Police Force announced that a post-mortem examination revealed Dinari McAlmont had died, as a result of drowning. Officials stated that foul play is not suspected at this time. However, police acknowledged they were still awaiting forensic toxicology results. The investigation remained ongoing despite the drowning determination. The contradiction between the family's observations and the official findings created a rift that continues to this day. How do you reconcile a mother's description of facial trauma and sand-filled hair with a straightforward drowning verdict? Dinari's aunt, Marcelle Bacchus, took to social media to voice the family's frustrations. In a Facebook post, she revealed that the family had been denied access to view Dinari's body in the morgue. She claimed that bureaucratic issues, including a misspelled name on paperwork, had prevented the body's release to funeral directors. "My sister is so frustrated because she has not seen her son as yet," Bacchus wrote. No cameras were allowed in the morgue. The police did not even share a picture publicly. She added, "No camera footage until now. We are afraid evidence will disappear." The family's concerns extended beyond the immediate investigation. They worried about the preservation of evidence, the lack of transparency, and what they perceived as a rush to close the case. The timeline of events raises several critical questions that demand answers. If Dinari was involved in an altercation at a restaurant around 1 a.m., how did he end up on a beach hours later? What happened during those crucial hours between the alleged restaurant incident and the discovery of his body? The Atlantis Resort maintained a position of cooperation with authorities while declining to comment on specifics. "We are deeply saddened by the passing of one of our guests," their statement read. "Our thoughts and condolences are with the guest's family and loved ones during this difficult time. This is an active police investigation, and we are fully cooperating." The case highlights broader concerns about tourist safety in the Bahamas. The U.S. State Department maintains a Level 2 travel advisory for the country, urging Americans to exercise increased caution due to crime concerns. This is particularly relevant for Nassau, where Paradise Island is located. Dinari's story is not an isolated incident. Earlier that same year, Taylor Casey, an American woman, went missing during a yoga retreat on Paradise Island. Her whereabouts remain unknown. The music community mourned the loss of a promising young talent. Location Studios, where Dinari worked, published a heartfelt tribute. They described him as more than an engineer, but a great friend and an all-around incredible individual. They noted his passion for his work and his commitment to bringing artists' visions to life. The investigation officially remains open, though no new developments have been announced since the initial autopsy findings. The toxicology results that police said they were awaiting have not been publicly released. For the McAlmont family, the lack of closure continues to be a source of pain. They've hired legal representation to press for answers and have called for a more thorough investigation, including review of security camera footage from the resort. What really happened to Dinari McAlmont during those crucial hours on Paradise Island? The official investigation concluded with a drowning determination, but the family's observations of trauma suggest a more complex sequence of events. Yet when we look at how other families have been treated in similar situations, the contrast is striking. When Henry Gardner was found dead in a Guyana mall pool, his family received immediate access to clear CCTV footage showing exactly what happened. No questions, no uncertainty, no years of fighting for transparency. In contrast, when 11-year-old Adrianna Younge was found dead in a Guyana pool, international experts reviewing the case couldn't reach agreement. Dr. Carol Terry, America's leading pathologist, refused to confirm drowning and called the case highly suspicious. UK specialist Dr. Mark Devonish concluded the science suggested she didn't drown in that pool at all. 3 drowning cases. 3 different levels of transparency. 3 families with vastly different access to answers. The McClemmonts still wait for the security footage their aunt mentioned. Gardner's family watched their loved one's final moments within hours. Young's family flew their daughter's body across continents seeking truth from multiple experts who couldn't agree. The truth about those missing hours may never fully emerge, but the McClemmont family's fight for answers continues, driven by a mother's love and a family's refusal to accept that their questions will go unanswered. In paradise, some families get immediate answers. Others face endless questions. The difference often comes down to one critical factor: what the cameras captured, and whether families are allowed to see it. The McClemmonts are still waiting for that footage. The question remains, should grieving families have the right to see what happened to their loved ones, or will bureaucracy continue to stand in the way of truth? What do you think happened that night? Should security footage be automatically available to families in cases like this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
If you enjoy deep dives into true crime, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Until next time, friends!